Parkinson's Congress. Thanks for everyone for joining and your interest in the Congress. The Congress is an amazing experience. It is a week of, can I call it, celebrating Parkinson's. It's the only international conference in any health space that brings together patients or the community, researchers, clinicians, allied health professionals, nurses, complementary programs such as dance, exercise programs, brings everybody together internationally to talk about what's happening in the Parkinson space. So we've got Rachel here, and Rachel went 3 years, oh, it's 3 years ago, 3 years ago to Kyoto. And so Rachel's going to talk about it in a moment, what you get out of it as a nurse and what you can bring back to your community. But what I would say to you is, if you are able to travel next year to Barcelona, and it's the first week of July, if you're able to travel there, you will have an amazing experience and learn things about Parkinson's and meet people from around the world who also have Parkinson's and develop amazing friendships and supports to make your journey with Parkinson's that little bit more better. I shouldn't say a little bit better, but it will make a difference in your life if you can do it. Christine's obviously a consumer rep for the Congress, sitting here back in Australia, but we have people who become ambassadors for World Parkinson's Congress in each country. Christine will talk in a moment, but going will be fantastic, and then what you can take back to your support group will be amazing too. Now, when you're traveling, we found when we went to Kyoto, some days, and it's really long, the Congress is so long and there's so many great presentations, trying to find the right presentation and fitting it all in is hard, but it is a long 7 days of conference. We will have our nurses there, so we'll go as a group, and you'll have a lot of resources with us and support if anything goes wrong. So, for instance, one of our lovely ladies from, I think, the Kayama support group got quite ill last time, but our nurses were there to help her. And so don't think that you can't go because of your Parkinson's and, you know, you're worried about your Parkinson's. You'll have support to go to the conference from our team. Should I hand over to Rachel to go first? Is that what I'm supposed to do? Sorry, I can't see. Our printer's not working.
We can go either way.
Oh, it's over to Christine. So Christine's going to speak first. And then at the end, if you've got questions of either of the three of us, please feel free to ask us questions around logistics, timing, the benefits. If we haven't answered all your questions, we'll do the question and answer in a moment. So over to Christine, and welcome.
Thank you very much for the welcome and then the invitation to share. I'm just going to share a presentation with you as well so that you can get some visuals. Let me make sure that's playing. Okay, there we go. So the reason I went to the World Parkinson's Congress, well, let's just go back a step. I had Parkinson's 3 or 4 years and I was struggling to do exercise. I don't know if anyone else has had that issue. Doing exercise regularly is hard, right? And so I decided I needed to set some goals, and I took up gymnastics, and I saw that the World Parkinson's competition for video making was on. And so I thought I'll try and make a timeline to do a video about learning how to do a handstand, if I can. I had no idea if I could. And so I ended up making the video, but I really, it was down to a fine line whether I could get the video done or not in time for the World Parkinson's Congress submission deadline, but I got it in, and that video changed my life. It was shortlisted as a finalist. It's had over 5,500 views and 180 viewing hours. I mean, it was just amazing just to get the encouragement for me through that video just being popular, and also just people just having such encouraging comments from the video. But you're going to come to the World Parkinson's Congress maybe for that reason, because you want to make a video, or for other reasons. Before I go on, I just mentioned this is the World Parkinson's website. If you have a phone and you can take a photo of that and it will take you straight there. But if you don't have a phone, you can just write in WPC 2023 and that will help you get to the website. So there's lots of information on there. I won't go through the website, but anything I don't say, we can look it up there later. So why go to the World Parkinson's Congress? A person I met said, well, how's that different? I can get all the information on the internet. How is it different going to the World Parkinson's Congress? Yes, you can hear talks on the internet, and you can be motivated to read about Parkinson's on the internet, but these talks are live. You get to ask questions. You learn from the posters. People make posters about Parkinson's. There are books, but there are specialists. There are experts in Parkinson's. You can try exercise classes. You can participate. You can be inspired and encouraged, and you can connect with world leaders in Parkinson's disease. So I think one thing about Parkinson's, I kind of feel like it's the hokey pokey. With the Parkinson's world, you can put one hand in or you can put one hand out. You know, you can take what you want, but the best way to learn about Parkinson's and deal with your Parkinson's is throw your whole self in, and going to the World Parkinson's is kind of getting into the dance and saying, well, I've got Parkinson's. Not much I can do about it, but I can put my whole self in, learn as much as I can, and experience what is out there to learn about Parkinson's disease and what I can take back to my community, as Joanne said. So yeah, get your whole self in. This is my poster on the left, but of course there's Vincent Carroll from Parkinson's New South Wales, and that's a poster we made because I was living in Peru at the time. So I had everyone take a photo with this poster to send greetings to people with Parkinson's in Peru who are kind of lonely. You get to meet world leaders, like I met Mel from PD Warrior. I had met her before, but it's great to meet again. And this is a couple from New South Wales that I met on the plane over there. I've forgotten their names, sadly, but that was really nice to meet people on the plane and chat to them about the conference, because I did travel alone. And that's why we have actually made a little group on Facebook of Aussies wanting to go to the Congress. You can look it up on Facebook just by that, Aussies wanting to go to the Congress, or you can use that picture there to get the link. I'll just leave that there a moment, because yeah, it would be great if you want to get onto the Facebook group. I just don't want to go too quickly because you might miss this. But I'll come back to some traveling tips afterwards. Okay. Here are some important dates to remember. Firstly, there are some different competitions you can be involved in: video competition, a song competition, a poetry competition. There's also the choir, and you can make a poster about maybe your group's experience of Parkinson's disease and the story about that. You can volunteer at the World Parkinson's Congress. If you want to volunteer, I recommend you get into that pretty quickly though, because there's not many places to volunteer. The benefit of volunteering is you get some of the meals free, and you get t-shirts, and you sort of volunteer 5 hours in a day 3 times, and then the Congress is free for you at any other part of the time you're there. There will also be raffles for the Congress so that we can help people see if someone can win an entrance to the World Parkinson's Congress, but we need to confirm the dates with Eli, my boss down there in New York. There's some of the dates. I won't read them all out, but one date that isn't on that list is the song competition. If you're a musical person and would like to prepare a song, I think it's due pretty soon. I think it's in November, and I don't think the date's there. I'm not sure why. Somehow got missed. There are also travel grants available, but they're limited, unfortunately. I did apply for one last time and I didn't get one. There's sort of a general one, and there's also a young onset one. And the ways, I didn't want to write prerequisites, but the suggestions are that the people who get them are probably more involved in the community choir. Oops, I've just gone back. Or in the competitions. That should say competition. It got cut off by the picture. And I'm afraid need is not enough. Lots of people want to go, but there's just not enough money for everyone to go, unfortunately. And the other thing that you can do is do some fundraising for your trip yourself, and that might help you get along as well. They just want to know that you're involved and you're committed if you're going to get a scholarship, and so that shows commitment. You might want to think outside the box in ways you can do some fundraising so you can go. For me, I did apply for a scholarship, but I didn't get it. So I just put a GoFundMe. You guys have heard of GoFundMe? It's like a website. You put it up there, you put what you're going to do, and you send it to your friends and you say, do you want to make a donation so I can go to the World Parkinson Congress? And my friends are very generous, and everyone put in $50 or $100 or whatever they wanted to, or $10, and I was able to go. So that was wonderful, because it is expensive, and I know that's hard for a lot of people. I thought this was very interesting to know how many people has been to the World Parkinson's Congress over the last few years. So they've been going since 2006. And the last one was a little bit lower at 2,777. It was in Japan, but there might be a lot more this year because Europe will be very popular, and it's quite close to America. So the one that they had in Portland in the US had a lot of people because there's a lot of Americans there. As for our region, unfortunately, there's not very many people who've been involved. So this says 2% were from South Asia, Southeast Asia, Australia, or South Pacific. So my guess is that's about 55 people, but how many of them were Aussies? I don't know. So, but I don't know, because it's very, very big group. There could have been New Zealanders. I know there's quite a few New Zealanders who went, but we'd love to get that number up there, wouldn't we, to see more Aussies get involved. And this is the types of people who went along. So as you can see, that there are neurologists and those sort of people, doctors, and then there's other health professionals like nurses, and Parkinson's advocates are people with Parkinson's, like myself and like many of you on the call. We use the word advocates because we think that you guys are representing the community. You're out to help each other, help bring home information to your community, and you want to fight for yourself, looking for how you can improve your health, and hopefully pass that on to others as well. So we hope that you can come along. Oh, someone said, do you have any tips for the World Parkinson's Congress? And I just threw this in at the last minute, very quickly. Make sure you get to your flight 3 hours early. Book connecting flights if you can, 3 hours between. And if they're unconnected, you have to have a lot of time between. I just came back from Peru, and we missed flights because there was only a couple of hours between the flights. And thankfully they were connecting and they just put us on a different flight. But if your flights are not connecting, it's tricky. Of course, you want to spare clothes in your bag. You want lots of medication in different places in your bag so that you can find it in case something gets lost. You want comfortable clothes, extra medication. You want to arrive a couple of days early to get over jet lag. You don't want to wear a belt on the plane because you often have to take that off when you go through security, and also slip-on shoes are helpful. You don't want to fill your suitcase because you want to bring home something, and you want to use lightweight luggage if you can get that. You should ask your fellow passengers for help if you need any. I have done that in the past. My bag was very heavy on my last flight, and I asked a random stranger, can you just carry this to the gate for me? And they were very kind and they did that for me. You feel awkward, but it's better than suffering. Travel with others for support, and you don't know how you're going to feel when you get to the end of the flight. So you might want to just ask for the wheelchair in advance, just in case. You can always reject it where it comes, but if you want it, it's there. Just in case, the last time I traveled, I had a lot of trouble with a lot of our accounts on banks and phones are connected with Google or some sort of verification with your cell phone. And if you're using your cell phone number from Australia, you won't be able to get those SMSs potentially, depending if if you have roaming on your phone or something like that. So just be aware that you might have issues with codes on your phone and checking that up. So that's something to think about as well. So that's all at the moment. I'm happy to answer questions and tell you more about the Congress. Oh, it's cut out. Yep.
Thanks, Christine. I'll just add a couple of things to your presentation.
Mhm.
From the Australian contingent last time, there were probably a bit over 50 of us.
That number must be wrong.
Yeah, they're between Victoria. Most of the people came from Victoria and New South Wales. So Parkinson's Victoria, who are now called Fight Parkinson's, they probably had between 20 and 30, and we probably had that many. We do a welcome function. So once everyone arrives, the two states, we hold a joint welcome function, which we'll do again, so that you get to see everybody who's there and you can connect with people from Victoria. And you can connect with everyone from New South Wales that we know's there, by the way, because there were some people that travelled that we didn't know they were going to be there. I'm not sure, Christine, if we knew you at the time.
Oh no, I came to that. I came to that event.
Did.
So,
there would have to have been 50 people in that room, wouldn't there?
There was a lot of room. There was a lot of people.
Yeah, there was. So it was great. Christine mentioning flying on the plane. We will have a flight. Some of our team will go earlier, but some will go to arrive. I think we'll try and all arrive the Saturday before conference starts. So if you want to be on that flight that we're all leaving Sydney from, so that you're travelling in a group, we will organise that. So Sarah will let you know and can put you in touch with the travel agent that's organising that for us. So that is available if you don't want to travel just by yourself. I'm going to open the floor up for questions.
There was one question on the chat from Michelle. Was it hard to get accommodation?
Not at all.
Yeah, not at all. We've had a look at Barcelona. Last time our team booked through the WPC, the accommodation, it was quite expensive. There is a lot, and I've looked personally, there is a lot of accommodation within walking distance of the conference centre in Barcelona. So what we might do is I'll get Sarah to put a list of hotels. It's really easy when you Google. You can do it through the WPC when you book, but I will warn you, it was so much more expensive. And, you know, you might want to do a little trip on the side, so save the money for the trip and we can look at walking distance. We'll also let you know where we're going to stay because we'll start booking very shortly so that you know that where members of our team, our nurses, are staying. So you can be in a hotel with us all the Australians together. That will be fun. Lewis, you had a question? You're on mute. Lewis, you're on mute.
Can you hear me?
We can now.
You can now. I want to know roughly the cost of airfares and accommodation. Roughly.
We're planning on, with our team, for the registration, the accommodation for a week and the airfare will probably cost about $8,000 each.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we go to Rachel? No? All right. I'm going to hand over to Rachel, who's going to give you have a chat about what she got out of the Congress and how it's changed the way she as a nurse operates and what it means for the community in which she was operating. Rachel.
Muchas gracias. Hola, and Christine, yo soy enfermera.
Well done.
I am a nurse. I had just only joined Parkinson's New South Wales as a nurse just before the Kyoto conference. And I guess one of the most memorable things was actually arriving at the airport and seeing a sea of purple shirts. And I knew that they were my tribe and that we were all about to board the plane together. I had never been actually to a conference or a congress where I was actually with the consumers. And I guess that was what differentiated the World Parkinson Congress from other MDS conferences that I've been on. So it was, I'd never actually been sitting next to someone in a talk about, for instance, sexual dysfunction with a client sitting actually next to me. So that was really, I really liked that. I really embraced that, and it gave me a different way of learning. I'm a bit of a learning junkie, and with Parkinson's, there's always so much discussion about motor symptoms and non-motor symptoms and the percentages of how many people have these things. And I guess what I really wanted to know was more about how to practically look after people. And if they have certain issues around particular non-motor symptoms, I wanted to know why they happened and then what I could actually do to help people in my nursing practice. And I think a lot of those questions and challenges were actually addressed and answered at the Congress. So it was great fun. There was quite a few of the other nurses as well. So we try to spread ourselves fairly, around the actual Congress and go to as many different presentations as we could. I know that we didn't have a huge Australasian contingent, but it was lovely to see all the very, very clever medical practitioners and neurologists and people that I'd only read about in research articles actually presenting. And even more so were those people that had who were presenting that also had Parkinson's disease. So it was certainly a wonderful learning curve for me, and without being too scientific. Does that make sense? So when you go to the doctors' congresses or the conferences, it's very scientific and very, very, very technical. And I really like sort of the broader presentations that we received at the Congress. I was also really, really interested in people who had what we call orthostatic hypertension, and I made sure that I attended all those talks. And afterwards, it was really quite a privilege to be able to maintain contact with those presenters and get some more information from them. So I thought that was pretty cool. I was also really interested in some of the mood and behaviour that associated with Parkinson's disease. And as a consequence of that Congress, I've been able to contact a guy called Daniel Weintraub. He's quite well known, and if you Google him, he pops up on all sorts of YouTube talks about things about Parkinson's. So that was really pretty cool as well. In addition to that, we really enjoyed the welcome evening with Parkinson's Victoria, or Fight Parkinson's. But later on, we also had a nurses meeting for all the nurses that attended the Congress as well. So that was from around the world. It was hilarious. I think there was probably about 2 Japanese nurses, and but there was a nurse from New Zealand who I met who actually looks after people with MS and Parkinson's, and we've been in contact with her, subsequently. And it was great to catch up with all the UK nurses, because I think they're kind of like the trailblazers a bit in terms of nurse specialist delivery and Parkinson's care. And so it was great to see them and actually meet them in person. So great networking opportunity, amazing learning experience. It was also wonderful to hang out actually with our other nurses from Parkinson's New South Wales, and of course Rachel Rossiter who came along too. And so so not only did I learn a lot, but it also gave me lots of ideas about, you know, how to look into and make some more inquiry and research about things about Parkinson's. It also showed me that when I thought I knew a lot about it, I realized I knew nothing. and it is a continually evolving learning with Parkinson's, because it is such a complex and multifactorial, you know, disease. So I don't think we can ever finally say that we know everything about it. And so it's always good to see what people are presenting. And also, I guess another thing I really was interested in is seeing what maybe somewhat medications that were available in other countries that we didn't have here, and making inquiries about, you know, why they weren't here yet. And so it was good to know what was out there as well. So, and not to mention, it was just, it's enormously fun being in Kyoto. I had never been to Japan, and it was just beautiful. It was great fun to meet Christine. Christine, I get tearful every time I think about you doing your handstands. It was pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. And
Questions?
Rachel. Yeah. Anyway,
say questions of Rachel.
I just finally, when I came back, I'm a bit of a study nerd, and I actually had put together, I really did put a lot of information about all the talks that I'd attended, and documented everything quite deeply. And now I actually use it as a resource. So if somebody says to me, you know, what about pain in Parkinson's, I will actually go back to that talk and have a look at the strategies that this particular presenter gave us in actually working out how to, you know, work out pain mechanisms in Parkinson's. So I've still got it, and I'd use it, and it's been fabulous. Yep.
Does anybody have any questions for Rachel, or questions in general? Is anybody thinking about attending the next Congress? Christine, of course. Lewis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michelle, you put your hand up, thumb up. You're thinking of going? Great.
Not to mention Barcelona is such a beautiful city. Just
yeah. Well, also I would just add, for young onset, it's really great because it's such a rare disease. It's hard to meet people who have it. So I don't think I met anyone with young onset till I went to the World Parkinson's Congress. And then there was a room full of people that had young onset. And it was just really encouraging to see how everyone was fighting and working together to raise awareness and that sort of thing. So I really appreciated meeting the young onset people. I think more in retrospect than at the very moment. Like, you know, later I thought, wow, I met him there, and I met that person there. And at the time I was like, you know, oh, this is nice to meet the people, but just knowing the resources in the community and who's out there, it's just really wonderful to see how you can work together to raise awareness about Parkinson's disease. And because I keep making videos, well, not this year, but previous years, I've made a lot of videos. Those connections have been great to keep those videos sharing as well. So that's been wonderful. And I would just add, sometimes there are the surprising things that happen. Like for me, after the conference, I went for a tour to a tourist place. And on the bus, I met a lady there, and she was a physiotherapist from California, who of course had just been to the World Parkinson's Congress. And I hadn't met her at the Congress, nor heard her talk. And she said to me, and she just stayed with me the whole day. We went touring together. And she said to me, Christine, you can get better from where you are now. You can get better. You can get your movement back. And I didn't really know if I could. I mean, I'd done the handstand video, but I wasn't 100% sure. And she's like, you can get it back. Look at this video of my patient, my person with Parkinson's. She was worse off, and then this is her better. And so just that random meeting really encouraged me to push further with my exercise and do more. And I came back and I was able to do things that I would never have thought of doing if I hadn't been told, be brave, try harder, work harder. You can improve your health, your movement. And I did, so that's wonderful.
I think too, Jo, and I know that a couple of the other attendees who have Parkinson's have maintained a lot of friendships internationally with the other participants. And I think, and they've even gone to visit some people before COVID, obviously, but or they've definitely kept in contact and, you know, been able to compare notes in like a little sort of mini support group kind of thing internationally.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
There's a couple out of Port Macquarie that I think they've done the last two conferences. Kyoto and Portland, and they have made friends and stayed friends.
Yeah.
And it's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got Lewis and I got Michelle sort of putting their hands up. Who's wavering, thinking about it, not sure? Anyone want to make any comments? No?
I think basically my biggest worry is not the cost, it's the fact, the condition I'll be in 1 year's time,
Yeah.
whether or not I'll be a burden on the mission.
Yeah, can I make a comment about that? So I know there's someone else on this call that's worried about how their health will be next year. Our role here too is to try and support you to make it possible to achieve whatever you would like to achieve. So if that is going to conference, like I said, we can travel in a group so you're not isolated. There'll be a support network there. So if you're not feeling great one day, you let us know so we keep an eye on you. If you're having issues with, we had issues with, change in diet because you're traveling and someone got very bad constipation last time. Kathy, our info line nurse, worked with that person, helped her with her meds to make sure her bowel started working again. I'm being really open and honest here, but, and after that, she got better and she had a fantastic time the rest of the conference. So you will have issues with your Parkinson's when you're there. You will. You're not going to have great health 100% of the time because we know the realities of Parkinson's, but you will have a support network. So if you choose to go, there are people around you that will ensure that you get the most out of that conference.
And if, for instance, my health deteriorates, can I get the money back?
Well, you'd need to take out some travel insurance, Lewis. So I would say to you, maybe hold off till January till you start booking.
Till January.
Yep.
Yeah.
So see how you go over Christmas, how you're feeling, and then maybe January, February, let's talk about, you booking.
Okay. That sounds great. I'll definitely stay with the group in the group hotel and fly with the group. I feel that's important for assurances, for backup.
We've got another question in the chat here. It's a good segue. Michelle wants to know, is there any travel insurance companies that you know of that don't charge extra for having Parkinson's?
Probably not, but the real estate, you'll do all of that with the real estate agent. Any chronic disease now, and especially after COVID, you're probably going to have to pay a little bit more for travel insurance.
Joanne, can I just say, my dad, who's now 87, he goes overseas regularly, and he's got pre-existing conditions, and unfortunately he does actually have to pay more for his travel insurance, but it's still worth the effort of getting there. And it's not Parkinson's, but he's got other things, and he certainly has to pay more, and he gets a bit annoyed about that, but that's the reality that, if he does. So, yeah.
Can you let me know, Rachel?
Yeah, I'll find out who he's insured with when he's gone. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've never paid extra, so I don't know. I always declare it, but it never ask for more, so I don't know what's going on there. But travel insurance has gone up because I went to get some and they were asking the amount we paid for a family was now asking for an individual. So we just need to check that out because it could be expensive.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any other questions or comments?
And just, I guess too, Cassie, there'll be a lot of, I know there's a lot of requirements about vaccination status when you're traveling around now too. Yeah.
I would ask that everybody is fully vaxxed
that
that's not an extra complication.
Yeah.
I do know people who have travelled in the last 6 months that have, been to Scandinavia and ended up in a hotel room for a week because they got COVID. So please ensure that you are vaccinated.
I would just add that I find that my meds don't work if I'm overtired, like if I didn't sleep on the plane. So I do recommend getting there a couple of days early and just chilling out in your hotel, or, you know, having the option to chill in your hotel. Because I got there early and my flight, I mean, I got into the hotel early, but they wouldn't let me into the room unless I paid extra. So I thought, no, I'll just go and do some touring and a walk around. But I walked and walked, but, you know, really slowly, my meds weren't working. And finally I decided I just need to go home because I need to rest, because this is not going to work. So sometimes it's worthwhile paying the extra, checking in early and chilling out at the hotel.
Yeah. It is going to be a big commitment getting to Barcelona. We've had a look at a couple of the different airlines, and it appears that it's probably Sydney, London, London, Barcelona. I think it is going to be a long flight. We could look at a night in London, but the only problem with London is everyone arrives at 6 a.m. and you'll have that problem of walking around. So we're thinking that we just go and get on the flight to Barcelona, get there and check into hotel rooms so that everyone can have a rest. But we will look at that route flight that's going just to see how easy it can be.